Hi everybody and welcome to part 3 of my Transit Mk6 Rust saga. Well, here we are back again at the Transit. Now I've had a couple of days to ponder over the best way to handle this procedure, and I've also had some handy comments as well, which I've thank you very much for. Now I couldn't find, as I mentioned to you before, I couldn't find anywhere that done pattern inner wings for this. The only place I was told that you could get them was directly from Ford. Well, one of my subscribers, Pete Froud, has someone who works in the industry, and he actually got a price for me with a 20% discount as well for the inner wings, over £200 plus VAT. Hell of a lot of money, bearing in mind an outer wing, for example, is only £15 a pattern part. So it just shows you that it's a very hard to find part, and you can only get them from Ford. So lucky enough, Gary, my son, was out and about and looking around. He come across a Transit place which we knew about, but I'd not stopped off there. He basically does old reclaimed Transits, and he breaks them up and stuff like that. Well, Gary phoned me up the other day and he said that the chap there has got some inner wings. Well, then we come back with this. Let me show you. Here we go, look. There's the inner wing, there's one of them. And there's the one for the other side. Now, these have come off of an old Mk6 Transit, which was at this Transit Breakers, and he cut them off, and all he charged me was £15 each. So I've actually got a complete inner wing there for both sides. I'm going to do the other side as well, even though that one's not so bad. There's a little bit of surface rust on it, but I mean, that's absolutely nothing. But as you can see, I've got the whole bit which I need, which is along that inner seam there, is all completely perfect. It's just a bit dirty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the whole lot out, and I'm going to just scart that bit in like that. So what I've got to do now basically is to draw some cut lines on here where I need to cut, get the angle grinder, and then grind that bit out, and then obviously somehow spot weld these back in place. But that's what I'm going to actually do, rather than make my own metal up. And as you can see, there is absolutely nothing wrong with these whatsoever. Once I've cleaned these up in the sandblaster, give them a good coating of zinc primer, and then I've decided on what to do for a covering. In other words, someone's mentioned to me that don't underseal it, because that's old sort of school stuff, and when that rust, water can get in from behind and all sorts of stuff. And someone also has mentioned that if I use a Raptor truck bed liner to treat all the underside, but that's very, very dear. You can buy a kit of it for about 70 quid, £70 on eBay. But the problem I've got with that is that it's not that I don't want to protect this and I want it to last for a long time. The problem I've got is there's still loads of rust on it. Like, for example, all these chassis rails here. Let me show you. Sort of all these chassis rails down here, as you can see. I mean, once I cut all this out and plate all this, as you can see, it's still rusty. So I'll be spraying a £70 product. Once I've got rid of the rust and treated this, I've also got another chemical to put on this to neutralise all the rust. But that's only from the outside. No doubt on the inside, these are all rusty on the inside as well. So, you know, you've got to decide how much money you really want to spend on this and be realistic with it as well, which is obviously what I'm going to be trying to be doing. So, in this instance, I don't think the truck bed liner, spending all that money just for some sealant over the top, is going to do the job, for the simple reason being that the insides are all rusty. It's okay on a new truck bed liner, for example, so I'm not going to go down that route. I may underseal it yet, I'm not too sure. I'm going to neutralise all that once I've ground it all away, as I said to you. But initially, it's not about putting the best coating you can get on there and letting stuff through, because there is still rust on this. So that's the only thing I've got with that. So I may even use that stone chip guard which I put on the Triumph. So that was a bit cheaper than that Raptor truck bed liner. Right, so let's just have a little quick look round to see how I've got to cut this out to put the new stuff in. So let's make some cut lines. Well, offering it up in position first of all, where I asked him to cut it was to give me an overlap. So I mean, that there is going to be retained. So I think if I cut along this inner hedge here, along that line there, that gives me this overlap there, where I can just sort of tack on this to the outer side. So if I draw a cut line along this line there, that allows me that overlap. So I think I'm going to do that there. And again, likewise here, what he's actually given me, if we look at that, is he's actually cut on this panel there. So if I cut down this line there, that means I remove these spot welds, that means I've got this much overlap to re-spot weld this back on to that. So that's going to be okay there. There's no welding to do down here because it's all been preserved. The only other bit of welding I've got to do, by the looks of it, is that back line there and that line there. So let's take a look at that on the inside. He's given me loads of options here. So he's cut down basically there, through that there. He's cut straight through that bracket, as you can see. And then along the back, past that hole, he's given me plenty to play about with. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw some lines on here, and then I'll show you afterwards to give me sort of the right position. Right, well, as you can see now, I've made my cut lines along there. There's one down there, and looking on the inside, I think you can just see the faint line up there, right to the top, and then across there. So let's get the old 1mm cutting wheel and start cutting along these lines. Don't forget your safety goggles, folks. Right, okay. That's the old one out. I've got to clean all these edges up, obviously. Let's just see what the new one going in is going to possibly look like. So, it's going to be, as you can see, we're going to look lovely when it's in there. So all I've got to do now is remove this down there, clean all these joints up, clean all the edges up, and prepare them for welding. Well, I'm actually well pleased with that, the way that's turned out. That came out nice and easy, that did. So that's my first bit of cutting. One thing, I've got the eye protection on, as you can see, but I've got to get my earplugs. I forgot my blinking earplugs, so this really does leave it ringing in your ears, that old cutter, so make sure you've got ear protection as well. All right, I'll see you in a minute anyway. Right, let's give this a trial run. Right, there's given us enough there to drill out and re-seam that there. We'll seal that there. The lines look good. There's a bit of trimming up to do, maybe there, cut along there, this here for example. That needs trimming up just down there, which is nothing. And if we look on the inside, there's enough for me there to just straighten things up a little and drill through, maybe straighten this edge up. Yeah, I think that looks alright. I think that looks alright. There's a little hole at the back there where obviously where he's cut this off. I'll have to put a little patch on that, but again, that's no problem. And there's a bit of rust for me to treat in the corner there. Right, okay then, well, I'm going to play about with this and just line things up, clean everything up and all that lot. And I think I'll end this video here, and you'll see the completed job in the next video. So as you can see, the wing is now in place, although it's got to be fitted correctly, and that just involves trimming up. You don't really want to have to see all that. And yeah, I think it looks all right. I think we're going to be okay. Well, there you go. Hope you enjoyed this little cutting about video. It's first time I've done anything to this extent, so if I can do it, you can do it. The hardest bit was that centre drill, the centre thing for the spot weld cutter out tool. You really need to centre punch them spot welds, otherwise it just skates all over the place, even though you've got that locating pin there. So that's what you've got to really do. That's one thing I've learned from this anyway. The other thing was that there was hidden spot welds as well around that seam. As you saw, I had a little bit of problem locating all of them. Once they've done, the actual spot weld tool is ideal. Once you can actually see all the spot welds. So that's the main thing, uncover all your spot welds and then you'll be alright. Okay, hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks very much and see you again in the next one. Bye for now.